Hello and welcome to the Master's Voice, the podcast series on Mediabrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla, and with me today is a stellar young professional, somebody I am looking forward to speaking with because I do expect a lot of insights and wonderful takeaways from his more than a decade of experience. I have with me, and please join me in welcoming Soumyadip Chatterjee, Brand Marketing Director, Snapdeal. Soumyadip, welcome to the Master's Voice.
Thank you, Pavan. It's a great opportunity. I'm really excited and looking forward to our conversation.
Yes, indeed. So am I. And I'm sure that a lot of people, not just the younger professionals, but even your peers and others will definitely benefit from this. So, Soumyadip, before we dive into this conversation, let me also thank AdFactors PR and Prachi Sharma from AdFactors PR Delhi for having facilitated this interaction. So I'm really looking forward to it. And again, one more thing before we dive into the conversation is I need to do you the courtesy of a tiny little introduction of your profile. So here goes. In this episode of The Master's Voice, my special guest is Soumyadip Chatterjee, Brand Marketing Director, Snapdeal. Soumyadip has more than a decade of experience in content producing, brand strategy and marketing. He's worked on more than 100 campaigns in different capacities and has led the digital branding roadmap of more than 40 brands across categories, geographies and consumer segments. His core focus areas at Snapdeal are to improve the brand experience of its consumers across physical and digital touchpoints. And Snapdeal's recent brand campaign was hoping that customers would discover Snapdeal with a new, exciting lens, look at it with a new, exciting lens and understand how Snapdeal can add value to their everyday life. So, Soumyadip, welcome to this episode of The Master's Voice and thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Right, so let's dive in. Ever since the pandemic first set in, okay, that's from when we look at it, what from day one of the pandemic have been the challenges, changes, opportunities and developments at Snapdeal? How has Snapdeal been dealing with the whole new scenario, which is not really very new anymore?
So, sir, it's a very interesting question. And it was not so interesting when it actually started because it sort of hit us hard. I mean, not just us, but as a nation, as we know. And although when it was happening globally, we were aware that, okay, there's some sort of a disruption coming. But the quantum of that disruption was initially sort of shook us all out of our comfort zones. The great part is that the whole transition from work from office to work from home was completely smooth. We worked a lot initially with the government authorities to make sure that the operating protocols are in place and everything is sanitized and all the sort of health guidelines were adhered to. And it was a really anxious time for all of us, including our customers and our sellers. And we worked very closely with both of them, sellers being the whole center point of our business operation. So the team completely jumped into it to ensuring that maximum needs are met in the shortest time for both customers and sellers. And what happened out of it is that we onboarded a huge number of new sellers because we realized that inter-city deliveries and transportation was becoming a limitation. So we did it both in terms of automated onboarding, also manager-assisted onboarding. We did a lot of local level, grain market resellers, FMCG wholesalers, medical equipment dealers who were procuring essentials for us. And overall, from an employee point of view, I think the IT and the HR teams did wonders because initially it was a very gloomy period because there was a lot of uncertainty. We didn't know when we would be back to offices. So they made sure that the teams are engaged, supported, teams are enabled also in terms of the system, the network support, everything was there. And in two words, if I have to describe, it would be innovation and agility, which sort of helped us in solving huge number of problems during the pandemic since the beginning, sort of lockdown last March till now.
Excellent. And what happened with the employee morale right in the beginning? Because of course there was not just the fear of life, but the fear of jobs and careers also.
all our team members were assured by the management over and again that, everything is, we are one family, one team working towards one goal. So in terms of that, while there was uncertainty about the health factors, there were absolutely no uncertainty with respect to anybody's engagement with the company.
Great. Now, Soumyadip, the online shopping space was like a lifeline, during the pandemic. So how did Snapdeal fare? And when I say how did it fare, I mean, how did it grow in the same period? What were the overall sector opportunities, and how has the sector grown over the past 15 odd or more months now?
Since the pandemic started, at least at Snapdeal, we have seen that there is a shift in the consumer behavior itself. And that demand shift from offline to online are for genuine reasons like safety, convenience. It has led customers to reprioritize their needs, their spending. They have sort of come to accept the fact that frills are not necessary. The whole promise of premium brands is not really an essential. So that way, because of overall income uncertainty, there has been a sort of over-indexed focus in terms of customers on functionality and on products that give value vis-a-vis, say, premium brands who would offer a sheen factor to it. Users became more price conscious. They turned towards affordable brands. In the initial phase, mostly customers were buying food products, groceries, medicines, masks, sanitizers, etc. Then slowly that sort of acceptance kicked in, that they understood that, okay, this is how life has to be and one needs to adapt. That's when we saw that, household products, loungewear apparel, small kitchen appliances, cleaning items, home linen, personal grooming appliances like trimmers and all that, kids wear, stationery, gardening supplies. A lot of people picked up hobbies. So we actually could see how the customers and India is slowly accepting the fact that, okay, this is going to be a reality. Work from home is not something that's going to be here for only a couple of weeks. It's going to be here for a while. While I won't be able to comment on how the sector has fared as a whole, it would be unfair to comment on others' behalf. But for Snapdeal, we saw the most popular categories in the period of pandemic has been easy fashion apparels, home products including kitchenware, small kitchen appliances, gardening, home improvement tools, religious items, things which were typically bought offline earlier. Now customers have shifted online. Toys and games for kids. And from a numbers perspective, we added over 6 million first-time customers between April to October in 2020. And we added 19,000 new sellers in the first 6 months of the pandemic lockdown to the already existing base of 5 lakhs. So I think this is tremendous work done by the team to sort of achieve these kind of numbers. And we are also very proud to have served the customers in these times.
Wonderful, really. That's the kind of purpose that the group that you are part of actually is driven by, which is really nice. And indeed, as I said, the online shopping space was like a lifeline during the pandemic, still is actually. Soumyadip, I've seen and even experienced some spurious, duplicate and substandard products being sold on another online platform. I won't name it because let's not go there. But it is actually insidious and at pretty alarming levels. They even pay bona fide customers for positive reviews. I have a card. I won't name the seller or the brand or even the platform. But it says that give me 5 stars for this little OTG cable for your OnePlus whatever 8 or 9 phone, and I'll just immediately deposit 50 rupees as cashback in your account. Now that's the seller, not the company. But he's clearly buying a 5-star review for a product that I thought wasn't really worth the cost when I received it, but which I had actually bought purely because of the massive number of 5-star reviews. So I don't want you to comment on any other company, but what is the extent of the spurious or duplicate goods, do you know, that are being sold across online platforms in India? Any guesstimates? Any advice?
So the issue of unscrupulous sellers misusing online marketplaces to sell counterfeits is not just an India problem. It exists globally. It's not only an online problem, it is an offline problem as well, where marketplaces as we are, as Snapdeal is, we are as much a victim of the fraud as the buyers and the brands are. While it would not be fair on my part to presume what would be the number of, such unscrupulous sort of transactions going on. But all we can say that at Snapdeal, we have zero tolerance for rogue sellers. If we find any seller is indulging in any sort of fraudulent activity, they're immediately barred from future access to the marketplace. In addition, we are now collaborating with brands to helping protect their intellectual property rights. We're supporting any sort of investigation led by the law enforcement agencies. Even after all this, a customer does face any problem. There's 7 days, no questions asked returned, and quick refunds being given to the customer. So there are a lot of grievance redressal plans also that we have as a part of the program. So how we look at it is as a problem that is there, but our fight is continuous, and robust.
Excellent. In fact, what you've done, Soumyadip, is you've actually answered my next question, which was to be that, Snapdeal does guarantee value and best quality to the consumers. And how do you do that? Well, you just told me. And I think you guys do a great job there. Right, time to take a break. With me is Soumyadip Chatterjee, Brand Marketing Director, Snapdeal. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla. You're tuned to The Master's Voice, the podcast series on Mediabrief.com. We'll come right back after a short break. Don't go anywhere. And we are back. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla. With me is Soumyadip Chatterjee, Brand Marketing Director, Snapdeal. And been having a pretty insightful conversation. Very interesting indeed, Soumyadip. So I think your quality-based promise has been center stage, Soumyadip, in a Snapdeal campaign. Pretty quirky one too. I quite liked the Brand Wali Quality Bazaar Wali Deal, and it's with Ritesh and Janelia Deshmukh, who have a very disarming PLU or a people like us quality about them. Let me play out the audio first. It's this one.
आपके हाथों का बढ़िया खाना बहुत दिनों बाद खाया है ना आपके दामाद ने।
अरे बेटा और दाल ले लो।
माँ, आपके हाथ कौन से ब्रांड के हैं?
सवाल ब्रांड का नहीं, प्रोडक्ट की क्वालिटी का है। इसीलिए आपकी स्नैपडील पर है बढ़िया से बढ़िया प्रोडक्ट।
ब्रांड वाली क्वालिटी,
बाजार वाली डील,
only shop on Snapdeal.
Right, so that was your Brand Wali Quality Bazaar Wali Deal campaign with Ritesh as a brand-obsessed guy. It's really short and sweet, but tell me, Soumyadip, what was the genesis of the campaign and how was it received by the consumers?
Brand Wali Quality Bazaar Wali Deal as an idea started with us talking to our customers. The reason why we say Brand Wali Quality is because in India, there is a presumption that anything good can only come from an expensive source, or it needs to have a big branded tag to it. And this is pervasive, not just when it comes to shopping, across everything. Somebody is an MBA, the first question we ask, not that what you learned, but where from. So it's a common thing. So that's where the thought of Ritesh actually being this representative of any one of us, any Indian, who naturally presumes if something is good, if his mother-in-law's cooking is good, then the heart must be branded. If a small child is really benevolent and happy, then probably his heart is also branded. That's where the thinking started from. And Bazaar Wali Deal started with the understanding of the experience that we are already providing the customer. What we realized is because of a sort of a predictability of quality, and because we are only listing value products, the customer is extremely comfortable coming to Snapdeal. It gives them that sort of a warmth and sort of a comfort they get when they're shopping at a local market. Because when any one of us walks at a local market, we exactly know which shop has what sort of products, which shop will have a great quality, and what's the price range this particular shop is operating in. So a person is much more freer in a local market than they would be in any, say, in a premium destination, whether in a physical space it would be a mall, in an online space it would be a brand, it would be other companies who are offering brands. So we realized that Bazaar as a feel, it's very comforting, it's very warm, it's very endearing, and something our audiences are very used to going. And so that's where we put it together, and we said, okay, we'll have it a very direct way of sort of asserting what we are already delivering, that is good quality at low prices, which today no other e-commerce company is today able to deliver both good quality and low prices. And when we went to the users, even with high brand orientation, they were surprised at the depth of prices and products in value e-commerce.
Yeah, Soumyadip, really, I too and many people I know have really liked the campaign. How did the consumers respond to it, and what did it do for you with your consumers?
It was a great success with the consumers. A lot of consumers who probably otherwise are brand oriented, so to say, were surprised at the depth and prices of the products in value e-commerce. Many consumers were also surprised by how good the quality of the product is, even with low price. They were, earlier only familiar with brands where better quality means high prices. And what we also heard and what we also understood from the customers are that even though some of them do buy brands, but that is only probably for 10 to 20% of usage in their daily life. 80% of the stuff that they're using are actually non-branded, so to say, value products. So we came to this understanding that value is not really a demographic. You can't say that, okay, this person living in Ghatkopar is a value customer and this person living in Bandra is not. Or, similar. So we realized that value is not a demographic. It's really a mindset, which all of us Indians do have.
Absolutely universal. And how did you push out the campaign? What platforms was it released on?
In the current avatar of the campaign, we promoted it across Facebook, across YouTube, Hotstar, and a couple of other digital channels. And we are planning in the future to also explore print, TV, and other mainline channels.
Great. Right. Online shopping has become so transactional, first television had shows and people thought that whatever a particular channel will show, people will go to that channel. But actually it's purely transactional, the whole relationship. It's purely appointment viewing. There's no loyalty. And perhaps even the online shopping is very transactional, and today there are only 3 or 4 online shopping platform brands that spring to mind. And of course, Snapdeal is right up there amongst them. So across all of them, mostly one sees that they probably don't need to do brand positioning or brand profiling campaigns. And I also think that the TG's attention spans are very small too because of the impulse aspect in online shopping perhaps. But my preamble, that long lengthy preamble, was to ask you this. Nowadays I see that most every online shopping platform is forced to have campaigns that demand both things together: customer awareness and customer acquisition of the same kind of creative. They're in a hurry now. Are the asks of online and digital marketing creatives demanding impact in more than one area of the customer journey funnel? Because earlier, till pre-2019, marketers used to say that, digital marketers, that my sole ask of my first campaign is 85 to 90% is brand awareness, customer awareness. Customer acquisition comes later. But nowadays, every campaign is a mix of both. So is that been a major shift, or do you think that's happening? And if it is, then why? Give us some insights on this, please, from your experience of digital marketing.
It's a very interesting question, sir. And I think that today customer awareness and customer acquisition, both of them are actually asked from brand marketing, and rightly so. In my experience and in my opinion, that's how it should be, because there's a huge digital component today to every brand marketing campaign that happens. And the measurability of a digital marketing campaign is much higher than what one would have earlier when it was just traditional media. So that the attribution, while it's not being 100% perfect yet, but it is significantly higher than what it was earlier. So there's a lot of the efficiency of every marketing dollar spent is much higher. Number 2, the customers are inundated with all sorts of entertainment options, informational options on digital today. Not just digital, but also across their television screens. Also, there are so many channels and everything. So it's very hard to actually dominate the share of voice or to get attention for longer time. Attention spans are going down, as we know. So we as brand marketers sort of have accepted that, okay, if we're doing say 4 campaigns, 5 campaigns a year, not all of them are going to be as sticky as it used to be earlier. But earlier it was sort of a certainty. You do a brand marketing campaign, there was a formula to it and it would work. Now we know that might not be the possibility. Not all might stick. That's where the pressure comes, because we know that we'll probably get a very small window of opportunity with that customer, and we need to land our message, get that person to try out our services once and, convert as well. That's mostly accepting the times we are living in.
Right. So yes, a single campaign will have more than one ask on digital marketing, and more often than not it is customer awareness and customer acquisition. But then that's also probably due to the very, very transactional nature, the kind of a relationship that is there on online shopping. It's always impulse. But of course, your brand campaign, that the one that we spoke about earlier, has actually contributed a lot to your brand awareness and brand profiling. Right, time to take a break. With me is Soumyadip Chatterjee, Brand Marketing Director, Snapdeal. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla. You're tuned to The Master's Voice, the podcast series on Mediabrief.com. We'll come right back after a short break. Don't go anywhere. And we are back. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla. With me is Soumyadip Chatterjee, Brand Marketing Director, Snapdeal. And been having a pretty insightful conversation. Very interesting indeed, Soumyadip. So, what, Soumyadip, is value-based e-commerce, and how is it different from what your competitors are offering to consumers?
So first, let me begin with defining how we look at value. So when we say Indian customers are value customers or they prefer value, it is essentially understanding that there is a very high sort of return on investment in what they buy. So if a particular product is of extremely good quality and it comes at a reasonable price, we Indians inherently market in our minds as a value product. We feel that this product has value in it. So that's the space that Snapdeal is operating in, and we are 100% great quality at low prices, which we call value product platform, where while some of the other e-commerce companies will have brands also and a small section dedicated to value products, for us it's not the case. 100% of our products are priced for value. You'll find great quality at reasonable prices all across all categories. And for a long time, India's e-commerce, since the time e-commerce became a thing in India, it has been sort of going back and forth between these two aspects of either having brands online which are expensive or relatively low quality, low price items on the other. While as Snapdeal, as the sort of leading the value e-commerce segment in India, we have brought these two things together. And the offer to the customer is that today you don't need to make that compromise when you're out there shopping any product. You can get great quality at a reasonable price. And there are well-established physical retail models doing exactly the same thing in physical markets. However, in the online space, we are the first at-scale platform to build an online equivalent of these with an exclusive focus on value price, good quality merchandise across daily wear clothes, everyday use kitchen items, home decors, and a lot of other stuff. And our efforts in the last 4 years completely been focused in building value e-commerce. And that's how today we have assumed the leadership position.
Right, and so your Brand Wali Quality, Bazaar Wali Deal comes full circle, and I think that's really great thinking, Soumyadip. Right, so you spoke about giving great value to customers, to consumers, people who come and buy from you, and I'm sure also to the ones who sell through you. However, I want to speak to you about, pick your brains on one thing. Overall, aren't small shops and retailers on the ground, the brick and mortar retail setup across the country, aren't they suffering due to the emergence of online shopping, whether before the lockdown or during it? So does Snapdeal, Soumyadip, does it co-opt small stores as delivery or pickup points? Is there any direct effort to help them too?
Essentially, all the operations of Snapdeal are powered by offline, which is a best suited model for India. So because online platforms provide an expansion opportunity for sellers without the incremental physical involvement and capital intensive distribution networks, which is a tough thing to do for a small enterprise. And because of us, imagine a small seller sitting somewhere in Haryana. Now he or she is able to fulfill the needs of a customer in say Bangalore or in a small town in Tamil Nadu. And that is how offline actually has enabled, online. And Snapdeal especially has championed the cause of small sellers. We are emerging as the preferred platform for regional local sellers in the past few years. A lot of local brands which are known only, in a particular geographic area now becoming national brands by leveraging Snapdeal's platform. We've been helping local sellers and retailers expand their footprint. So while we continue to remain a neutral, value-focused platform and our business processes are aligned to the needs of the sellers, like we don't have an inventory lockup, we have a no inventory-led operations, which would compete with them. So all that is not there. And consequently, 100% of our sellers are third parties, they're independent ones. So whatever growth we say that Snapdeal has had is essentially directly passed on to the sellers who are actually fulfilling those customers. So there is no conflict of interest. We are all in the same team.
Very, very reassuring and really nice. And it also reflects my own ignorance about the manner in which you operate. But I'm so happy to have found out that this is the extent to which, and this is how you actually empower and energize the brick and mortar setup, the offline setup. Really very nice to hear that. Right. So, Soumyadip, let's go on to the overall entire strategic approach, the tactics of brand marketing. How has all of that evolved in these times? And, obviously, I'd like you to answer from the perspective of your experience with championing Snapdeal as a brand. I personally think it is less brand marketing, in quotes, in the selling sense, and more brand communication now. But let's hear it from you. How has Snapdeal been transforming its communication for the new eco-socio realities, and any changes in the way your brand and its offerings reach out to people?
So the change in like you said, in the eco-social realities are well reflected in the way we are communicating. Everything is direct. Brand Wali Quality, Bazaar Wali Deal directly states out what the offerings of the company is without beating around the bush. The offering that we have of value products, you get great quality at reasonable prices, pocket-friendly deals. That's again in line with what we see as the behavior shift, consumer behavior shift, that they are not anymore enamored by the frills of a brand, but they are moving towards more functional, more utility-oriented products. They're looking at great quality and not necessarily which brand is tagged with it. Plus, we are reaching out to a huge amount of customer base in tier 2, tier 3 audiences. A lot of stories of customers who have actually been empowered. They've found new hobbies. They have, discovered a lot of products in Snapdeal and they have turned their focus towards it. Now their life has bettered. So it's an extremely positive space to be in today. And I think at Snapdeal, we are the most uniquely positioned in an advantageous position because we are already understand the pulse of this audience, which others are now playing catching up to.
Okay. So Soumyadip, whether Snapdeal examples or any other great examples of memorable marketing or comms campaigns during the pandemic, anything that you quote to your teams as good how-to examples, anything comes to mind, whether India or international?
I think it would be really unfair because most of the Indian campaigns are done by my friends and my peers. So it would be unfair to pick one over the other. But yeah, I think, the really positive change as an industry that we have had over the past 1.5 years is that empathy has really come back into marketing. Brand marketers don't really have the privilege of presuming for the audience. Say, okay, earlier in brand marketing, there used to be this thing that one would set trends. One would say that, okay, this is how something needs to be done, right? If you look at all the old campaigns done during the golden age of advertising, the TV era of Indian advertising. But today that thing is not happening. Nobody is presuming that, okay, me sitting in an office in a metropolitan city, I am smarter than the tier 2 audience and I will tell them, okay, how to behave or how to, use a brand. Today we are following trends. Today we are extremely data centric. And I think most of the brands who are actually having a ear to the ground and listening to the customers, they have shifted to empathy-driven marketing. They're really listening to the customers. and then building their communication. And that's a really positive sort of change. And as personally also, it takes a regular effort to remind oneself, because what happens is we also get carried away when we are within the, in that echo chamber of similar thought. The team is so passionate, everybody feels that, okay, this is how it should be done. So here it's very important for us to sort of step back once in a while, listen to the customers. At Snapdeal, we have a great practice of, customer emotions every week. So the entire team, basically the brand marketing team, we talk to customers regularly. We try to understand the pulse of the audience across geographies, and it's not one. It's different. Like when I speak to a Hyderabad customer, very different sort of ambitions, aspirations than, what a North Indian would have. So, yeah, I think anybody who is doing any empathy-driven communication today is a good example.
Right, time to take a break. With me is Soumyadip Chatterjee, Brand Marketing Director, Snapdeal. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla. You're tuned to The Master's Voice, the podcast series on Mediabrief.com. We'll come right back after a short break. Don't go anywhere. And we are back. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla. With me is Soumyadip Chatterjee, Brand Marketing Director, Snapdeal. And been having a pretty insightful conversation. Very interesting indeed, Soumyadip. So here comes my next question to you. Soumyadip, I was going through your LinkedIn profile and I really loved the About Me section over there. So my questions are, the next ones are sort of linked to what you mentioned over there. And one of the things you mentioned, and that's what this next question is about, is how do you go about building collaborative teams, Soumyadip, and how do you ensure or facilitate collaboration in the workplace at Snapdeal?
Collaboration at any workplace, including Snapdeal, starts with ownership. When every team member feels that this is their project, they will go beyond the brief, and there will not be any egos to be played, because they understand the larger purpose, they understand the larger objective, and there is no not invented here syndrome. Everybody wants to help each other as much as possible while they take care of their assigned responsibilities. And the second part is that culture flows from the top, and I think starting from the CEO to the co-founders to every single member of the company, the whole understanding of what the business is and understanding who the customers are and what they want makes all the difference. Because when you keep the customers at the center of all your activities, there can't be any debate. Even if there are debates, there are no egos at play, because it's not you versus me. It's us and the customer. So every decision is being taken from the point of view of, okay, will the customer like it or not? So I think that has really helped us build a collaborative process. And everybody understands that if I'm saying something or the other person is saying something, it's for the benefit of the customer at the end of the day.
Excellent, excellent. So Soumyadip, how has your experience across, so many different sectors, how has that helped you evolve as a professional? What were the learnings from each sector?
I have had actually a sort of a non-linear career so far, especially coming from an agency background. I've worked across 40 plus different brands, all across different sectors, from heavy machinery to jewelry to fashion, real estate, education, agro, south, north, all sorts of TGs. I've also worked for this mutual fund client, insurance client. So what happens is it's like a data pointer, like I say that any machine learning algorithm will eventually get better as and when they get more inputs about, they get more data pointers about a customer. So if you look at India as this very complicated, heterogeneous customer pool, I think I have got, some 200 data points by now, which would include different sectors, different industries, and it would include different geographies, and it would also include different strata of the society. So from, say, HNI individuals who are buying, say, real estate funds to, say, a fertilizer company bought by farmers. So that sort of length and breadth really opens your mind, and it makes you humble as a brand. It makes you realize that there are no right or wrong answers. It's actually, what the customers feel. For them, what is right for you at that point. So that has been
Right.
a tremendous privilege.
Wonderful. I also see that, and this is from your About Me section, and I quote, intuitive leader, a keen observer of human behavior, and equally excited about cracking the big idea and closing the deal. And life is really all about cracking the big idea and closing the deal, whether personal or professional, right? So, any advice, any tips, any insights at all on a personal level to the professionals who are listening to you?
I think today brand marketing is like a performer. It's like a magician's role where one has to wear many hats. One cannot be just say that, okay, I'm great at research and I'll be a brand marketer. Or one can't say, okay, I'm great at planning and I'll become a brand marketer. One has to be a bit of everything. And it has tremendously helped me and my peers as well. Overall understanding of the customer, and that comes from observing human behavior and understanding the balance between a creative idea and how to persuade the customer to eventually, make that sale. That is where the crucial aspect is there. While it's easier said than done, I think most important for a brand marketer is to talk to as many normal people as possible in the day. And very few of us actually do it. Sometimes it's not possible for me also, but I try to do it consciously. Just talk to normal people, like talk to the house help, talk to the, the guy who's dropping you off to the office, talk to the milkman. That is a data pointer that no amount of research can give you, no amount of, no matter, because data is something that we have a saying that if you torture data for long enough, it will tell you whatever you want to hear. But that sort of talking to normal people, and it's not really rocket science, but very few people do it. It's really common sense. So I think that's if I have to part with one advice for young audiences, I would say talk to normal people, talk to customers. And once you do that, you will get exceptional clarity in terms of, okay, what will work and what will not work.
Excellent. In fact, you lead a very large team. And what do you expect of the leaders of sections within your team? What essential abilities and qualities must they have? Sure, ownership, sure, pulling together, being cooperative, uniting together and thinking for the customer, all of that. But still, what are the qualities that you think they must have, whether at the personal level or even on attitudinal or skill, whatever? And how do you encourage leadership development down the ranks?
That's a really important question given the days we live in, and then kind of sort of stuff we read online of all sorts of stories people talk about experiences at workplaces. It's a very important question, and we must encourage such questions more in the social media sphere. When it comes to my personal approach is, while like you said that the hard skills are one bit, obviously we will only work with people who have the requisite hard skills. But I think at a personal level, empathy is a huge factor, because there's a lot more a team of average individuals can achieve when they're working together than, a very talented set of people who are working individually. So empathy comes at the core of all sort of, leadership decisions that I try to make, is understand the other person's point of view. And the people that I hire, I make sure that they also have that sort of soft skills. Because everything else boils down to empathy in the end, especially leadership.
Excellent. And as a person, you're a professional and a person, a family person at home while you're working for your office. In this new scheme of things, these new testing times, everybody's on edge, hours are longer, you can't help it. No company forces you to keep longer hours, but since you're near the computer and you want to finish stuff, and that, you just get up from here and go to the dining table. So it's like you do put in much longer hours, etc., etc. At least most people do. What is it that keeps you balanced, sane, strong, and focused?
So with respect to the long working hours, whether for me or my team members, I think at Snapdeal we're exceptionally output focused. So we don't really care about when you do it, how you do it, where you do it, as long as, it's being done exceptionally. So that is a great sort of a stress buster for everybody, because then they can structure their day, the way they want it, and it helps them. Personally, what keeps me sane is working out. because I think that is meditative. Because while all the bloggers and the yoga gurus online, they say that okay, you should try meditating, but we all have inherited the monkey brain, and so there's a constant chatter. But when you're working out, you really don't have any other thought, because all your thought is towards pushing that iron up.
Right.
So that has really helped me in sort of stay focused and have like a great start to the morning.
Right. After that long and insightful chat, Soumyadip, tell me why you like working and doing what you do at Snapdeal.
It's a wonderful place to begin with. It's the most collaborative environment that I've worked with. Especially since I am from an agency, I have had the privilege of glancing through multiple different work cultures, like probably more than a normal person would probably have an sort of an insight into, say, 5 to 6 companies in their 10 to 12 years experience. I have probably looked into 50, 60 companies till now. So it's an exceptionally collaborative process. And number 2, like you said, that it's an output-driven culture and not really an input-driven culture. As long as the work is done at the highest quality, everything else is as per your choice. And number 3 is there is a very healthy balance of inspiration and insight, which is extremely rare. Because what happens in certain companies, one would go by the thought. Okay, this is what I feel today and we should pursue this. In certain companies, one's creativity would be throttled by saying that, okay, if data says this, then we have to do it. Here, there's a healthy culture of understanding that, there has to be a balance between insights and inspiration. And this is the foremost reason for anyone today, any young professional who's listening into us today, I think that should be one of their judging factors, because this is the most important aspect of a corporate career, is how you create a balance between insight and inspiration.
Excellent. Very insightful there indeed. Soumyadip, often media trainers will tell you, beware of last questions. But my last question will probably gladden your heart because it's so open-ended, so you can share any message straight from the heart. Is there anything else I should have asked you or you'd like to add to what you've told me so far?
I think what I would like to add is that this is a mission which is much broader than it sounds. When we say value e-commerce, that is not just a term, it is something we are delivering at Snapdeal. And at the heart of it lies the thought of being a democratizer of quality products. Why should only that person living in a privileged neighborhood in a big town have access to quality products? Why can't a normal person living in a small town somewhere in India have access to quality products at a price point that he can afford? So the heart of all of this is a great democratizer thought. Okay, quality should be accessible to everyone, no matter how much you want to spend.
Very well said, Soumyadip. Thank you very much indeed. So, Soumyadip, thank you for giving us so much time. What did you think of our conversation, Soumyadip, on the Master's Voice, our podcast series on Mediabrief.com today?
I'll end with thanking you, sir. I think it was you guided me really well across the podcast, and I think I was sort of scared to come to this podcast and face you, because I've listened to the podcast earlier, and I think there are some great people who have basically walked through the halls of this podcast, and I was almost thinking that, okay, what do I have to really contribute, where such greats have already participated. I'm really thankful that you made me feel important and made my opinions feel valid. And it was, I think it was a great conversation, and I think I could I hope I could illustrate my thoughts and also Snapdeal's thoughts. And I hope you also enjoy talking to me as much as I enjoyed talking to you today.
Absolutely. I really can't agree with you more. It was really insightful, very informative. You've brought in insights from so many years and sectors and subsectors and kinds of companies of experience. And Soumyadip, what I take away from here is that we must collaborate with empathy. And you have really walked that talk, and Snapdeal does too, the manner in which it actually reaches down to the ground literally, then helps the brick and mortar people who are actually the ones who've created the retail network across India, across all the markets, whether they are the high growth or the smallest, but now really high growth, the tier 3 and 4 markets of India. So thank you very, very much indeed, Soumyadip. Thank you for being on the episode. I'm very sure that my listeners are definitely going to like this podcast.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Soumyadip Chatterjee, Brand Marketing Director, Snapdeal, was my distinguished guest, this young veteran with more than a decade of experience and who's been driving Snapdeal through the pandemic with great brand marketing. His philosophy, his vision, and the manner in which Snapdeal has stood up and walked the talk of value, and I'm sure values, is really, really impressive. And I sincerely hope you enjoyed this conversation. Till we meet again, this is your friend and host Pavan Chawla from The Master's Voice, the podcast series on Mediabrief.com, saying take care, reach out to help who you can, but stay safe. Bye-bye.